everybody. Detective Superintendent Desmond Tiernan of the Serious Crime Review Team is going to read a statement and will then take questions. Thanks very much.
Good morning, Aaron. Thank you very much for coming here this morning. I appreciate it, and so do the families. So, just by way of the appeal here this morning, at 5:30 p.m. on the 12th of October 1971, Una Lynskey left her place of employment at the Office of the Land Commission, 24 Upper Marion Street, Dublin. She walked 2 bus hours and boarded a bus to Ratoath on her journey home. Una was travelling with her cousin and both got off the bus close to the junction of the Ferry House Road and Porterstown Lane at approximately 6:55 p.m. The 2 girls spoke briefly before parting company. Una walked towards Porterstown Lane and to her home. Now, this was the last recorded sighting of Una Lynskey on the 12th of October 1971 at that time. Una's family naturally became concerned at 7:25 p.m. when Una hadn't returned home, and shortly after 9 p.m. Una's boyfriend at the time went to Dunshaughlin Garda station and met the sergeant there and reported her missing officially. Over the coming days, searches were conducted in the area of Porterstown Lane by Gardaí, supported by the Garda Dog Unit, the Garda Sub-Aqua Unit, Civil Defence, Army and local volunteers. Gardaí also completed house-to-house inquiries and interviewed potential witnesses. A number of witnesses reported having observed a vehicle described as a Ford Zodiac or Ford Zephyr on Porterstown Lane around the time Una went missing. Varying descriptions were provided of this vehicle and its driver by witnesses. On the 25th of October 1971, Martin Kerrigan, Dick Donnelly and Martin Connolly were interviewed over a period of time at Trim Garda Station. All 3 were released without charge. On Friday, the 10th of December 1971, human remains were found at Glendew, close to Glencullen in the Dublin Mountains. These remains were later identified as those of Una Lynskey. On the 19th of December 1971, Martin Kerrigan was abducted in Ratoath and forcibly put into a car. In the early hours of the 20th of December 1971, Martin's body was found at Timbraden Farm in Dublin, close to where Una Lynskey's body had been recovered. John Lynskey, James Lynskey and John Gahan were subsequently charged with murder and convicted of the manslaughter of Martin Kerrigan and each sentenced to 3 years imprisonment. A Garda investigation file in relation to the murder of Una Lynskey was submitted to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. On the 5th of March 1972, Martin Connolly and Dick Donnelly were charged with the murder of Una Lynskey. Both were convicted of the manslaughter of Una Lynskey and sentenced to 3 years imprisonment. Dick Donnelly appealed this conviction and found not guilty. Martin Connolly served a sentence of 3 years imprisonment. In November 2010, Martin's conviction for manslaughter was successfully appealed. In 2014, the Court of Appeal later ruled Martin Connolly's conviction for manslaughter as a miscarriage of justice. He has since received a state apology. The Garda Commissioner has directed that the Serious Crime Review Team carry out a full review of the investigation into the murders of Una Lynskey and Martin Kerrigan. The Serious Crime Review Team will assist the local investigation team in reviewing this investigation. A senior investigating officer from Meath Garda Division has been appointed to oversee the local investigation team. The Garda investigation into the murder of Una Lynskey remains an open investigation. The future course of the investigation will be determined by the findings of the Serious Crime Review. The Serious Crime Review Team, with members of the local investigation team in the Meath Division, have met with the families of Una Lynskey, Martin Kerrigan, Dick Donnelly and Martin Connolly himself. The murder of Una Lynskey on the 12th of October 1971 and the subsequent murder of Martin Kerrigan on the 19th of December 1971 has devastated the Lynskey, Kerrigan, Donnelly and Connolly families. Both murders still have an impact on the community in Ratoath today. Una Lynskey was 19 years old and was the fifth eldest of a family of 12. Martin Kerrigan was 20 years old and was the second youngest of a family of 6. The family of Una Lynskey are seeking clarity on matters relevant to the murder of their sibling on the 12th of October 1971, 52 years ago. The subsequent prosecutions taken against Dick Donnelly and Martin Connolly have had a significant impact on them and their families. Martin Connolly and the families of Dick Donnelly and Martin Kerrigan have questions as to the Garda investigations that took place in 1971. The Serious Crime Review Team have been appointed to carry out a full review of the investigation into the murder of Una Lynskey and Martin Kerrigan. A full review involves the independent examination of all material gathered in the course of all relevant current and past investigations. This full review will hopefully answer all questions highlighted by the Lynskey, Kerrigan, Donnelly and Connolly families and bring the events of the end of 1971 to some conclusion for all those involved. I would urge any person or persons with information in relation to the murder of Una Lynskey and Martin Kerrigan to please come forward to either the investigation team at Ashbourne Garda Station at 01 801 0600, your local Garda station, or the Garda confidential telephone line 1800 666 111. I appeal to any person who has information on these murders not to assume that we know. Rather, let us make that decision. Thank you very much.